This meeting is being recorded.
All right, hello everybody. Welcome back to vBrownBag. Tonight we are going to cover something that's completely new to me, so it's good that it's going to be very interactive, I hope. If you're watching us live, make sure you interact. It's a fireside chat around the AWS Security BlackBelt program featuring Roger White, who we're going to introduce shortly. But before we do, let's get into a couple housekeeping notes. So if you're watching this live, you can interact with us tonight via the Zoom Q&A or the hashtag vBrownBag on Twitter. Either will work. If you're watching this, after the fact on our YouTube channel, we're glad you found us. Did you know that we record this live every Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Central? We also have other shows in other regions. Check the vBrownBag.com site for more information and schedules. Sometimes they're a little bit more sporadic, so you want to check ahead of time to make sure that you got something on the schedule. If there's not something on the schedule and you want to participate, feel free to reach out to us. You can reach me via my Twitter handle at Ken Nalbon via DM. You can also just reach out to the vBrownBag Twitter handle via DM or any of the people who host this show and say, hey, I got something I want to share. That's what this is all about, right? Sharing via community. We want to enable our peers and make everybody better. So that's what we're here to do tonight. And I'm so thankful that Roger White has chosen to join us tonight to tell us all about the AWS Black Belt program. Hello, Roger. Welcome.
Hi, Ken. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And thank you for inviting me to the vBrownBag. Right.
You're welcome.
Long-time participant, first time caller, long-time participant. One of the two.
All right. Well, I'm going to hit stop share, and I'm going to just hand it over to you now, Roger, and you can tell us all about this Security Black Belt program because I'm not familiar with it at all, and I'd love to learn more. So please.
Okay.
Educate me.
So recently I was part of one of the pilot AWS Black Belt partner programs and focused on security. And I did end up earning the certification. Now the good thing about it is it is a partner-led engagement, but you can either get to it by being nominated or of course, if you're a part of a partner program with AWS, then they will, share that particular program with you and to ask you who would you like to send to that particular program. So essentially, it's a higher level certification that represents a deep experience in learning rather than just trying to cram all the knowledge that you can from a study perspective. They go over security in depth. Okay, so what we do is you have 3 weeks of online learning. You have 3 weeks of online learning, and I can tell I'm a little nervous, right?
No. I'm like 3 weeks. Is it like all day for 3 weeks straight, or is it just like
no? So it's like 3.5 hours on a Monday and a Wednesday,
okay,
or Tuesday, Thursday, and for 3 weeks. But it's it's led by the AWS architects, and you're there with your AWS peers, professionals from other partner programs or partner organizations, and you're going through either labs, you're doing online learning, they start up actually by doing a lecture, and after the lecture you go into some brief conversations. But I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about it, though, is they really made it more interactive. So you've got quizzes, and then the labs, which they do host, like labs that they walk you through. But then there are other labs that they give you after you leave that. So they give you homework, essentially, right, for you to go and
sure, why not?
On the side, why not? So. But I mean, it's really a deep immersion into security, and once you have that immersiveness in security, you tend to want to go a little deeper. I think that's one of the things I've always been attracted to about security. It's just like there's so much. As soon as you chip away at this one thing, then next thing you know, there's multiple layers that that you're trying to understand and get to. So. But I think the program itself just opened itself up to you being able to ask more questions about why you do security from a business perspective, why you do security from a technical perspective, and understanding the risks as well as, compliance and how all those things marry together and play with, you being able to have a deeper experience, a deeper focus on security and become more well-rounded. Because I think a lot of people, they focus too much on just the technology, because technology will save us. We won't have to worry about security, right? If we implement this firewall and we implement this particular tool, oh yeah, we're safe, not a problem. And then all of a sudden, they have a vulnerability for that particular tool, and then they are like, the technology failed us.
Right. So like a lot of times, like I think everybody thinks, oh yeah, security is really important these days. So that's why we have an InfoSec team, right? And it's their job to make sure that all the applications, all the code we push, all the infrastructure we deploy, it's secure. But is this like program aimed at like the InfoSec professional, or is it for anybody, like a developer, an infrastructure admin manager, to make sure that they're being security conscious as well? You know what I mean? Is it targeted at a specific occupation, or can pretty much anybody who's in enterprise IT benefit from this kind of program?
Oh, anybody can benefit from it. Absolutely. Yeah. I think ultimately it really comes down to what you want. What do you want to learn, from the security perspective? Mm-hmm. Now, I'll tell you that it's really geared towards a security professional. So if it's something that you do on a day-to-day basis, then you're going to benefit from it a lot. Whereas if you're just somebody who's, I'm just kind of curious, you're probably going to get overwhelmed by the amount of work, for one, and I felt like it was like a college course, in all honesty, right? It was like, wait a second, here you are asking me to do homework, and then I have to do labs, and then the quizzes were based on the labs or based on the lecture from the previous day. So it kind of became like you were going to a college course in like a very condensed time. Oh, wow. But again, because I'm in security and I've been doing security for, almost 14, 15 years, or actually 20 years. So it's a lot, where for me, it's probably easy. For somebody who's coming in from, say, compute, mm-hmm. They might find it a little bit more difficult in certain areas, so, but I think it comes back to the mindset of the individual overall.
So are there any like prerequisites then you should probably meet before taking the course, right? Like, you kind of mentioned somebody who, specializes in compute. I might be kind of that guy, right? Like, I'm not a security professional. I'm an infrastructure guy. I know a lot about infrastructure and enough about security to be dangerous, or that it's important and I need to let a professional take over. What should I know? What should I be proficient in before jumping into this program, do you think?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, I remember when I was first studying security for AWS, they had these little ramp up guides that you could use to learn about security. And it was interesting because when the first day of the instructions came, they handed out that guide and said, hey, you need to be familiar with all the items on this particular list. Oh, wow. I mean, it's a long list, but then there were other items that they said, hey, you need to be familiar with these too. You got to be familiar with, Cognito, identity services, you have to do a well-architected network or framework. And, but the list kept going on and on: Shield, network firewall, NACI, guard duty, so it got to a point where when you saw the list, it was like, oh, wow. And I mean, if you've been on AWS for their documentation, it's not like they give you a little bit of documentation on any service. It's a lot of information for you to be able to go through. But again, it's an immersion program. You're trying to immerse yourself in, the culture of security, and of course the understanding of that particular service and how it would benefit a organization or benefit a customer. Who's looking to implement these things, and understanding these things are very important, mm-hmm. especially if you don't understand how they interface with one another, right? In the integration piece, because I think that's a big deal too. Most people, they say, oh, I'm just gonna put this in and, put this service in, but then I forget that, yeah, I've got a third-party service that may do this already, but I want to get rid of the third-party service, but you still got to kind of figure out how you're going to integrate it. If you wanted to do that, like for instance, Splunk is a good example, right? Okay. Yeah. You could do logs do CloudWatch, or you can port all that stuff to Splunk. If you don't understand how to do that, then it's just gonna you're probably going to end up with an environment that you're not going to be very happy with.
And so does the program help you get in the mindset of thinking outside of just like AWS services and functions, but like how you integrate it with things that might be outside of the AWS ecosystem, or at least not first party things?
It's AWS, come on.
Right. Like, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. AWS is great about teaching how to use AWS things, but that's not the world we live in, right? Like they got a lot of cool stuff, but I got a lot of stuff I'm already invested in, and I don't want to just leave it by the wayside just because it's, not in the course. So, it's kind of curious there. You know what I mean?
So the course really did only focus on the AWS native services, but the documentation that they provided did have areas in which you could see, hey, how do I integrate with, Splunk or something like that. I mean, if you Google anything on AWS's site, you find something for what you're looking for, right? Sure. And even if you can't, then there's going to be a partner out there that is able to, help you with that particular service.
Mm-hmm. Cool. I forget, I did have another question. I don't remember what it was. So keep going and tell me more while I think of what my question was going to be.
Well, so I did mention that the service is for partners, and but it's also for individuals as well, right? So like for myself, there's a lot of intrinsic benefits to being able to say that, hey, I went through the AWS Black Belt program. Of course, there's the recognition piece, but then there's the opportunity to be a part of a broader community, right? Within AWS. So now I've had the opportunity to interface with a lot of other security professionals that I met during the cohort, but then also the ones that I didn't go through the cohort with. So now when I have a question on something that may stump me, I'll send it out to the Slack channel and get some, responses there. So that's been really good. And then of course there's just the recognition, just knowing that, somebody will say, hey, he knows security. Well, okay, yeah, I went through the program. I'm a black belt.
So it's more than just like a training course and maybe a certificate of completion. There's kind of like an ongoing engagement from having participated. Okay, cool. So because there's already the AWS security specialization, like certification, right? So you could just go out and get that and say, hey, I'm AWS security certified. What more do I need, right? But this sounds like you're probably learning a great deal more, and B, you're making kind of some future connections you can lean on in a community you can go to with future questions, that kind of thing.
Yes, absolutely. But again, there's a lot more, outside of that too. You're looking at the professional growth piece. You're looking at and again, from the professional growth side, I mean, just imagine being able to walk in and having a conversation with a customer on security and feeling confident in that discussion because you've been through this program. And I guess I should say that, from the standpoint of studying for your AWS certification, again, we were talking earlier about, different providers that, give you the training for that. And of course, you've got the self-paced stuff, you've got the stuff on AWS. And it depends, if you're just studying to study and pass an exam, then you're really not absorbing the information, you're not really taking it in. And until you've actually done an engagement on security or actually participated in, conversations with customers on security, then what you end up doing is having this certification that is, a paper, right? But then imagine coming into this program now and all of a sudden somebody says, hey, we're challenging you on what you just said on this particular statement for this particular technology. And you're going, wow, why are you challenging me? You're not supposed to challenge me here, and I think that's been again, another intrinsic benefit for me to, up my game, step it up a little bit and know that, if I put something out into the Slack channel, be prepared that you're going to get responses back. And some of the responses may be, hey, you're doing this wrong, right? And are you okay? Can you be okay with that? And I think in my stage of my career, I'm okay with, being told that I'm wrong or knowing that I can be wrong, because none of us are, infallible. I mean, we're always going to make mistakes, and what you may design something one way and somebody else may design it another way. but it doesn't necessarily mean that both any of them could be wrong or correct. It just depends on, are we meeting the customer's requirements? Are we doing what the customer needs to be done in the most efficient, most effective, cost-effective way possible? And again, it comes back to the whole well-architected network.
So speaking of architected, you mentioned that this is for partners only. Do you think that this is more geared towards like the pre-sales architect who designs the solution type person, or the kind of like the delivery engineer who actually builds out whatever was architected, or is it good for either or? Like who's the primary audience at the point?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think it was really geared to both, because depending on the type of technical salesperson you have, they, may want to have that kind of knowledge prior to going to talk to a customer on security, rather than, of course, dragging one of their technical guys over to have the conversation. But it's, again, from my standpoint, looking at it, there are the techies that were going to really enjoy it because they love the labs and they love to see all the different bells and whistles when it comes to AWS. And then there's the other individual who's probably going to be out there saying to himself, I want to make sure that I know what I'm talking about when I have these conversations. And, I don't want to have to only rely on, my security, professional to be able to do that. So in my opinion, both.
Okay. And I mean, I'm sure that like, as a customer, they like to know that the partner they're working with is highly knowledgeable from both perspectives. Like, when they're designing a solution, and then when it's actually sold and delivered, like when they're paying somebody who's actually billable to do the work.
Yes.
But is there like anything after you've completed this that you receive from AWS in terms of like some kind of partner certification or badge that you put on your website or anything like that? Because our industry is like that, right? Like everybody likes to brag about whatever level of partnership they've received with all the various vendors that they work with.
I got a pledge.
Like comes in
I got a pledge pin. It was a pledge pin, right? No, actually, they did give us badges for us to be able to, showcase on, of course, on LinkedIn and Twitter pages, and of course on your email, so you can send it out, right? So when you send it out to customers, like, ooh, you went to the Black Belt program, yeah,
right? I know.
Right, so there are those. It's funny because I think I have the badge and I haven't used it anywhere except for maybe to announce that I had gotten it when I had first gotten it.
Nice,
but,
right? Yeah.
I'm trying not to be too showy because my tagline underneath my email address is starting to be like a bunch of, I feel like a doctor with all these different certifications and everything. It's like, hey, you're certified in everything.
I know. At some point, you were talking about career growth. At some point, like early on in a career, when you're trying to grow your career, it's really nice to be able to advertise those things, right? But at some point, you've got kind of a body of work. You make those professional connections, like you were talking about through the community, for example. Maybe it's not as important to, advertise them constantly, right? It's nice to know that you got them. You put them on your resume, your LinkedIn. Next time you maybe need to talk to a recruiter, they know what you're good at, or something like that. But maybe not as important as putting in the email signature or on your Twitter bio or whatever, stuff like that. I used to do both of those things, by the way, but not so much anymore.
I don't think there's anybody here that hasn't done that, right? Just you have to have that certification and put those, those little digits behind you, right? So some of the certifications from my side, they come with the little, 4-digit or 4-character acronym, and then of course they come with a number after them. So you're just like, ooh, okay, I got both, So I've done it, and seeing it on the resume sometimes it's even harder now because again the tagline is just so long, right? So you're just like, do I really need to do this anymore? I've been a working professional for how many years, and I should be able to just say, look, I'm a security professional, and but I won't lie, just to be able to say, hey, black belt program, that kind of sounds cool. Right?
It does kind of sound cool, like if it's not Rockstar or Ninja, at least you can fall back on black belt. Those are the people that somebody like to use, right? But it's also kind of like you were talking about how this is the kind of program and training where they're really testing your knowledge and you're not just studying to pass an exam, because you were talking about just somebody who has like a bunch of pieces of paper, the so-called paper tiger, what does that really get you? Like, everybody knows that they probably could have just found the answers online somewhere and just crammed those, or they just crammed without really absorbing the information. And then when it's called upon to actually apply it, they can't. Versus, it sounds like in this program, like you have a quick turnaround from what the lesson was to being able to actually apply it in a lab, essentially, and be able to actually apply it to a design or a production environment in the near term after completing it with one of your customers. So it sounds like to me.
Absolutely. And again, being able to have those conversations with confidence feels way better than having those conversations without the, the proper knowledge, or, just when I'm on an engagement, I usually find that customers don't like to hear a hesitation. They like to know that, hey, okay, he sounds really confident and he believes in what he's talking about. But I think that it also translates to what you're passionate about. I'm passionate about security. So of course, naturally, it comes across that way in my conversations with, my customers. And it comes across that way with when I have conversations, like even this conversation here, look, I love security. And, it's not just fun for me. It's now my livelihood for many, many years. And it's gotten me to a great place in life. And so,
yeah. And, you keep talking about being able to have those conversations and speak confidently. I know a lot of really smart people who probably could run laps around me with their knowledge, but maybe when they get in front of a customer, they just kind of freeze. Like, I feel like, confidence is their biggest problem, not knowledge. Is going through this program any sort of a confidence builder? Like, might it empower somebody who's a little bit less quick on their feet when it comes to public speaking, or not even public speaking, just like in a room with just a couple people, being able to kind of speak, to what they learned in this program? Does it help develop that at all? Even as a side effect, if it's not the goal, you feel like?
That would probably be a side benefit from it. But because we did it over Zoom, right, you don't really get that same, I don't think you get the same effect, because it's over a Zoom call.
Mm-hmm.
I know that when it pre-COVID, the Black Belt program was actually in person.
Mm-hmm.
So now you had the opportunity to meet individuals and have those conversations face to face, so I think that would help you a lot. But, doing it over Zoom, it's kind of impersonal. So you don't really get that benefit of, hey, I'm going to have, I'm going to feel more confident having a conversation. And I think it also, depends. Like me being at home, I feel very comfortable. So I have no problems, having conversations right now. There are times when you don't feel that great when you're having a conversation with a customer, but you just have to rely on the fact that you know what you're talking about. You have the knowledge, and just sometimes you just got to breathe. Just take your time, take a breath, right? Smile a little, jump into the conversation, right? And then whatever you don't know, you don't embellish. Just just say, hey, listen, I don't know the answer to that. Let me find out. Then lean on your community to be able to help you answer those particular questions that you're just stumped on, right? And there are going to be questions like that. I get them all the time.
I do too. I'm also in that kind of job where I have to interface with customers regularly. They count on me to be the tech expert in some certain field. And every once in a while, it's like, I got to follow up on that, right? And I found largely that customers are very willing to accept that answer if they know they can count on you to follow up, right? So if you kind of establish that trust with them, they know that, A, when you speak, you're confident in what you're saying, and whatever comes out of your mouth is going to be correct, or at least you believe it is very strongly. I can be wrong from time to time. And when you don't, you're going to be upfront with them and tell them, hey, I don't know that answer, but I have a great community to fall back on to get the answers. I know people who work at this vendor that we're designing a solution around, or who work in the community around it and are designing solutions like this all the time. And they're a big friendly bunch, and they're willing to share their secrets. Nobody's holding the cards close to their chest. It sounds like that's what you can cultivate through this program itself, right?
Absolutely. So it is a good. I think that's a really good thing. It's a really good thing to be able to have that, right? And I'd mentioned before that the community itself, that is just invaluable, being able to have that resource or those resources, because, I work with a lot of great engineers and architects, and they're sometimes too busy. They've got other things going on, and but imagine being able to have access to over 200 plus security professionals, right, at just a single Slack channel, and that number is probably low from what I've seen, but just being able to have that and then send it out and then getting some responses back and other ideas. I think that's the other thing too. It fosters other ideas that some things you probably didn't think of. And you're like, wow, I didn't think of that. So that's awesome. Now it gives you more flexibility to, again, go back to the customer and like you said, just being able to tell the customer with confidence, look, I didn't have the answer. Here's the answer now, and here's why the answer is good for for your particular use case.
Now, you mentioned that it was over Zoom, and pre-COVID it was in person. Have they had any indication of whether or not it's going to go back to in person at some point, to your knowledge?
Nothing as of yet. At least I haven't seen anything, and I know that there are several other black belt programs, that they have, and like one in particular I wouldn't mind checking out, but I'm not there yet. I'm not ready for the AIML, right, black belt program, but I've heard really good things about it, and can't wait to possibly try it out in maybe a year or so when I've actually done a little bit more on the AIML side.
That's
right?
cool.
And I think there's even one for analytics, serverless, and
yeah, I was going to say, what are the various ones that you know of? For those who are curious.
Yeah, so AIML is one, data analytics is another, containers, security, and I think that's it. And then I think there was a serverless one, or there is a serverless one, coming, and it's lucky for me, this is not confidential, so I can actually say it. But yes, so the good thing is, again, those programs offer you some really good benefits, but I didn't get to mention that at the end of the program they give you a capstone project that you have to do, and you have 2 months to complete it.
Oh wow.
Right?
Well, so, why do you have to complete it? I guess, like, is there some kind of like penalty for not completing it, or reward for completing it?
I don't know if there's any real penalty in you not doing it, but from what I was told, it's the capstone was, it's basically a architectural design, and you're almost defending it like a thesis. That's how it was, right? But when I went to my security black belt program, I was looking forward to it. I actually, had some anxiety about it at first, and then I said, you know what? I think this is going to be good. I can't wait to do this. I haven't done something like this since, my college days. All right, yeah, bring it on. And then all of a sudden they said, oh, you don't have a capstone project. Said, what? That was my reaction. And then they said, oh yeah, we're going to do a game day instead. And there was a weight that lifted off of me at first, and then I was like, but no, I wanted a capstone project. I wanted to
wait a minute. Are you the kid who was like, teacher, you forgot to give us our homework for the night?
I was the one in the back of the class causing trouble. I was not that kid raising his hand, so
Chris is in our chat right now saying that you are.
We can't kick him out.
I could do better than that. I could make him a panelist so that he can, he can defend himself.
Defend himself. Ooh.
Right, Chris?
Gentlemen, how's it going?
Evening.
Great. Evening.
I've been listening in. I was able to get away from my my previous engagement a little bit earlier, so I've been fascinated in the program.
Have you participated in any of these yourself, Chris?
I have.
I'm sorry, was that a yes?
Oh,
he muted himself.
Oh,
when I popped back in, it kicked me out and kicked me back in.
Okay.
I haven't participated in one of the black belt programs yet. I am eagerly awaiting a time when I will be able to get the time to do that. I fortunately and unfortunately have been extensively billable recently and have not had it. I just don't have 2 seconds to rub together during the day, but I want to get in on it.
I think you know somebody who can like you maybe refer you.
Somebody might be able to hook me up.
Right?
You know, I am willing to nominate someone. You know,
I have to be nice to him though, and that's going to be tough.
No, if you're nice to me, then I can't nominate you. I
Oh,
will
okay.
nominate you because I want you to go through the struggle.
So, question then: does that mean you cannot self-nominate? Somebody else needs to nominate you, either somebody who was participating in the program or an AWS employee, or what?
Oh, that's a really good question. So when it was presented to my boss basically sent out an email saying who would like to be part of this program, and they were only taking 2 names, right?
Oh, wow.
And so at the time, I think part of it is the relationship with AWS, and then of course, you know, if you have an awesome boss like I do, who, you know, just always wants you to learn and to grow and develop, you know. So, all right, that's not this. Yeah, I mean, that's usually the way it works out, right? So AWS will reach out to the partner, and then the partner will have either 1 or 2 seats that they can provide to fill, and if they don't, it goes to the next partnership.
Gotcha. And you said it sounds like it's a few hours of class per week for 3 weeks. So overall commitment for the classes, what would you say? Somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 hours just for class time? No, I'm just for class time, not for the homework.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But then on top of that,
20 hours, but no. It was a lot more than that, because some of the labs were, you know, 2, 3, maybe even 4 hours at one point, you know, so it can be a lot, right?
Are you telling me that you don't have time for this, Chris? I don't understand. Okay, so what would you estimate your overall time commitment for this course, for this program?
Including reading and other, probably about close to 90 hours or so.
Okay, 90 hours over the course of 3 weeks.
Sorry. 60 hours.
Okay, 60 hours over the course of 3 weeks, though, and you know you've got a full-time job, maybe family commitments. So not something that you want to take lightly, but highly valuable if you can actually set aside the time and commit to it. So it sounds like.
Right. And it's going to vary for others, because I'm a slow reader. So, right. You know, somebody who's a little bit more faster is a little faster is going to be able to go through the guides and you know, through the documentation. But like I said, it's a lot of documentation. So most of it is the documentation and the labs. The instructor-led portion, that portion was, you know, less than 20 hours, right, or approximately around 20 hours. So, you know, but the game day, when they did the game day was another 6 hours. You know, in one sitting, going through different challenges that AWS provided to you, right? And again, that was fun, but I know that the Capstone project would have added a lot more hours, because you're coming up with your design, you're, you know, probably going to have it reviewed by somebody, and you know, and I think there was a page limitation to it as well, so you couldn't just hand in a 1-page document and figure it was going to be all right. You know? So again, a lot of fun. It just, for me, it was just a lot of fun.
Cool.
Now, I will say that the workshops, they did provide some workshops, and they provided some links to a workshop that I hadn't seen before, and I'm providing that in the chat window
Nice.
for anyone else. And these were AWS specific security workshops that I was, you know, again, it goes into a level of detail in some respects that you're just like, okay, wow, you know, but just nice to be able to bring up guard duty and do some things. And it actually, you know, has some CloudFormation templates. So it pushes out this, you know, nice environment for you to play with, and you get a lot more hands-on. So for anyone who hasn't had a lot of hands-on with certain technologies, you just go here and you'll be able to find things on different areas like data protection I think there's even one on, if a compromised device inside the AWS environment and how would you remediate it. So it kind of goes into some of those things where, most people aren't really thinking about that.
That's really cool. Yeah, I'm going to actually pop it up on screen real quick so that people who are watching can see it. And see here. Share my screen.
Check it out.
Where is my window? I think. Oh, I got your link. I'm just going to share it on video now so folks can see it. So it's awssecworkshops.com. It looks like there's a lot of different themes. You guys can see my Chrome window right now, right?
Yes,
we can.
And, you've got identity, detective controls. I don't even know what that is. Infrastructure security, all this stuff. It looks like you can read through this and hit the getting started button, or it looks like you can hop up into just a single topic. It'll kind of tell you what's going on here. And so even if you don't get a chance to participate in the Black Belt program, if you want to learn more about security, it looks like this is a great free resource people can use to kind of familiarize themselves with a lot of these concepts and do some of these, I don't know, tasks, these workshops, like that kind
You'll
of
notice there, I haven't seen any that's less than 2 hours, but the good thing is, look at the level. The level is not just 100, 200, level. We're talking 300. So you're getting a lot into the more advanced features of the technology. And now you're asking different questions than you would normally ask before. Okay, yeah, I'm building an EC2 instance, but how do I secure it? Oh, I'm going to put in one of those security group. But what else can you do beyond that?
Interesting. So, that could be a good thing and a bad thing. If it's 300 level and you walk in with absolutely no knowledge, are you going to be completely lost?
I think really it's going to depend on the individual, right? I mean, most people are going to click on something that they're not, even if they want to learn. I think it's going to be good for them to click on it and go through it. The duration, even though it says 2 hours, that's 2 hours that it should take you to complete it. But there's nothing to say that you can't have it open on one window and in another window have some documentation and then go through and review it and just take your time, right, to go through it.
Interesting stuff. Cool. I'm glad we shared that. And anybody watching on YouTube, I will put the link in the show notes so that you can go ahead and click through there. I mean, you saw it on screen and it was pretty simple. URL awssecworkshops.com, but in case you couldn't hear me clearly enough, you'll have a link in the show notes to help you find it.
Nice.
Good stuff.
And all of these come with their own little GitHub repository in the upper right-hand corner. Oh, this is awesome. This is really good stuff.
Look at that, yeah.
See, that was just worth the price of admission right here.
Boom.
Getting that reaction from both of you.
Wait, this was free, Roger. What are you talking about? Wait, I paid good money for this. What?
You guys are getting paid?
All right. Oh, I should mention that the partner program, it is free. It is not a paid program or anything like that, right? So,
so
or if somebody paid it, I didn't do it. So
I was gonna say, right, like I guess if it was in person, there might be travel required and stuff like that. But since we're in the all virtual world, the only cost is, do you have internet, right? You have to be an AWS partner. I don't really know much about the AWS partner program. I work for one, but I don't know what it takes to get in.
Oh, really?
Assuming that you have to have certain qualifications to be an AWS partner to begin with, right? Like you're a consultant, you're a reseller, something like that. You have certain competency levels, stuff like that. So I don't know if you can speak to that at all for folks who are interested in becoming a partner just so they can do this kind of stuff in the future.
No,
do you know anything about that?
I leave that to other individuals.
Me too.
I can talk about. I can talk
right?
to that.
There's a team for that.
Yeah. So we actually depending upon the level, you have certain hurdles that you need to overcome. For the lowest level, which I forget the name for it right now, but you have to have like 4 pro certified people and X number of associate certified people.
Okay.
You also have to complete X amount of work. You have to have a number of named reference, and as you go up, you have to have more of all of the things.
Mm-hmm.
At the next layer, you have to have partner competencies, and there's a bunch of competencies out there. There's migration competencies, there's networking competencies, and you have to. Sorry.
Security competency.
A security competency, like our man Roger right here. and you have to have, ever increasing numbers of qualifying tick boxes to get higher and higher levels of partnership status. And with those higher levels come things, tighter connectivity with the internal workings of AWS, the partnership stuff, the Black Belt program, things of that nature. There's as you get more tightly integrated with AWS and they become more comfortable with your working style and process and everything like that, then you get more things.
I'm just going to pop it up on screen real quick so that anybody watching can see. There's an about page. Probably tells you what all the criteria is. There's a button to become a partner. I'm guessing you click that, you fill out a form, you're going to hear from somebody telling you how can we qualify for this. A lot of what Chris just said is a good start, but I'm sure there's all kinds of hoops to jump through for these things all the time, probably, that you're going to forget, between the time that Chris said them and the time you stop watching this video. I would, at least.
We have many people that are dedicated to keeping up the partnership and making sure that all of the checkboxes remain ticked, because some of the checkboxes have a time limit on them. You have to get them done and then redo them over a certain period of time. The number of well-architected reviews that you have to have accomplished, the number of ambassadors that you have to have on staff, et cetera, and all of those have to stay current.
But once you've done all that, then you can be invited to the Black Belt program. So it's all been worth it.
It's
right?
A giant party on the other side. It's amazing. Free beer and chimichangas.
I thought you were going to say pizza because that's the cliche one, but chimichangas sound better right now.
I'm actually kind of craving one right now. That's why
you got me craving one. Thanks, Chris. Okay. Well, Roger, you've shared a lot with us tonight, and thank you very much for doing that. Any other, words of wisdom regarding the Black Belt programs that we should know of, whether security or any of the other ones?
Nothing. I guess the only thing I would offer is if you do get an opportunity to, participate in one of these programs, really consider it. Don't let it pass you by. Allow yourself the opportunity to, immerse in your technology of choice, right? So, and again, with the support you're getting from AWS, which was really stellar. I mean, even just the going from designing the program and developing the training and then providing, the capstone or, game day challenge, whichever one they choose to provide you with, it's not a small feat, so they've really spent the time and the effort to improve you as a partner, as an individual, for your professional development. So, but it in turn helps your, organization as well, the company that you're with, to be able to say, hey, listen, we have qualified individuals who are able to have these conversations, at a higher level, and it just gives you a great opportunity to be able to, shine as a professional.
That's awesome. And, I would say that goes for just about any similar challenge, whether it's AWS specific or not. I think these opportunities come, every once in a while in someone's career. And when you are able to take hold of them, that's probably when you're going to make a lot of progress, personally, professionally, all those kinds of things. So great stuff. Thanks for sharing, Roger. Chris, you got anything else before I hit the stop recording button?
No, I always like watching Roger in the gigs that we've worked on together. I just like watching Roger do his thing. So it's great fun. That's why I jumped in.
Awesome. Thanks, Roger. I appreciate that. Goodbye.
Again, Chris, thank you so much. vBrownBag, thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks again.
Love having you on, man.